What's up, everybody? It's Brody Frye, and today is going to be a creepy episode. Today, I got my favorite human being in the whole world, and you're not going to want to miss this one, so stay tuned. Hey, everyone, it's Brody Frye, and here we dive deep into difficult questions. We'll map out thoughts, theories, and crazy ideas for the love of knowledge and growth. So, how do we answer some of the mind's toughest questions? This is the Mind Hiking Podcast. All right, everybody, we are back. I am very excited for this one. Favorite human being in the whole world, my sister, Stefie Frye. Welcome, Steph. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. This is definitely going to be an exciting one. I know you're very knowledgeable on some of these things that we're going to be discussing, so I'm excited to dive into this. Today, we are discussing the topic of cryptids, right?
Yes, I'm super stoked to get into it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So a lot of people probably don't know what that is. It's not very a common term. So you want to kind of give me an idea of what a cryptid is?
Yeah, definitely. So cryptids are kind of just like known as things that have been rumored around that people don't actually know if they're real or not, but there's been a lot of sightings of the unknown.
Yeah, something that you can't really disprove, something that might be possible, but there's no way to say yes or no. And a lot of these, they have some sort of proof of their existence, right?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of animals actually used to be considered cryptids, but then they've kind of been debunked as science kind of discovered them over time. Specifically, the giant squid is one of like the most known ones. That used to be considered a cryptid for the longest time, also known as the Kraken.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
It's fairly recently been discovered, and they've ranged up to like, I think it was 43 feet that the biggest one was.
I think even longer than that. I feel like it was like, I thought I saw something on like 60 something feet.
It could be. It could be. They're crazy, massive.
We really don't know much about that. Actually, I was looking this up the other day too, and I know we didn't get our first footage of or photo of a kraken or a giant squid until 2004.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Actually, this is a topic we talked about the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's crazy thinking about like all the shit that's in the ocean, what we don't know. Cause, like when I was reading about the giant squids, they were like, well, why did we never see their bodies come like up onto shore like when they died? And a lot of it was like, well, some other animals down there probably ate it before it was munching away on it before it was able to wash up. Yeah.
There's a fish down there that really likes calamari.
Yeah, for real. Oh my gosh, yeah, but it's wild.
Yeah.
That shit's crazy.
Yeah, it's literally like space on Earth.
Yeah, like, for real. Like there's like we don't know shit about it.
Yeah, we literally know nothing. Like in just discovering things every day, and it's like so vast. And I mean, just crazy. Like how easy would it be to be missing something for all these years? So easy because like it's so massive and like things moving around. Like it would be so easy to just miss even a monstrous creature like that for the longest time. Like
the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
We don't know the intelligence of these creatures either. Yeah. So they could just be like, oh yeah, they're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like I'll zip past them and they won't even know I'm here.
Right. Yeah. Or the age of these things. Like maybe some of these bigger animals just like live longer like that and they can just like outmaneuver us and have like
we're in their territory.
Yeah. Maybe they have like advanced like camouflage or cloaking that we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you got like chameleons and stuff, and I'm pretty sure octopus do the same thing where they kind of like can camouflage themselves or change colors.
Yep, they can.
So who knows if there's more creatures out there that are more advanced in that or better at that camouflage that we just haven't even like hiding in plain sight and we can't even see them.
There's no way that out of all of the creatures out there that there's only 2 of them that there's probably more that we're missing right now.
Oh,
but only like a handful of creatures that can do that. No way.
Yeah, there's gotta be there's definitely things we're missing.
Yeah, for sure.
In the ocean just being so vast and so easy to miss. And that's like a territory that we don't spend a lot of time. Like land, yeah, we're all up here anyways, and then the sky, it's wide open and we can see anyways. So like birds and stuff, which we're still uncovering and discovering, but like the ocean, there's not a lot of humans down there.
Yeah, like I mean, we can't with the pressures. Yeah. We can only go so far with our technology that we have these days, and before submarines start crunching in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
from the pressure. But yeah, there's so much. Like 80% of the ocean or something unreal is undiscovered.
Yeah. Okay, so I just Googled it. Yeah, more than 80% of our ocean is unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. Much remains to be learned from exploring the mysteries of the deep. Crazy.
Definitely there is mermaids.
Oh, definitely mermaids. For sure. Yeah, obviously they live in Atlantis. We just haven't
discovered that
either. Yeah. Yeah, we were watching that show about like the sea levels that like flooded and like covered up so much land and covered up potential civilizations that like existed on land, but like after like the ice age and things melted, then like who knows what's under the ocean that used to be land. Crazy. That's interesting. So some of these are pretty scary. They kind of been some freaky things from old times. You hear about these like tribes, these Indian tribes that like tell these campfire stories about these scary monsters and stuff. So you want to give me some examples of some of them?
Yeah, I mean, like the classics that people know mostly go into like the Yeti, the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, all types of things.
Yeah.
Mothman.
Yep. Yeah.
One of my personal favorites.
Yeah, definitely one we'll be talking about. So I know you have one in particular you want to discuss. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of going to wrap us around skinwalkers today.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super exciting. I've faintly heard the term before, but when you told me that that's one that we want to talk about, I actually like had to think back. I'm like, I don't even remember what that is. So somebody that's completely like new to this or fresh, like what is that?
Yeah, so definitely. So the skinwalker is actually from Navajo culture, and it is known as some sort of like witch in most stories, and it can either possess certain animals or shapeshift into certain animals. And they kind of act really similar to those animals, but there's always little things that are a little bit off. They tend to not be harmful, and most of the time they end up being kind of like pranksters and just prefer to mess with humans, actually.
Huh. That's really interesting. So they're not really like hunters or anything. They just kind of like to scare people.
Yeah, definitely.
Very interesting. Yeah, so and they're like shapeshifters, you said?
In certain stories, they're shapeshifters, and in certain stories, they tend to possess animals and just kind of...
Okay. That's interesting. And where did you say this story originated?
So the biggest sighting area is in Utah. It's known as Skinwalker Ranch, but it's originated from Navajo culture.
Okay. What is Navajo culture? Is that like...
It's an American Indian tribe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Used to tell that in their folklore stories and stuff. Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So some sightings you said, is that where might some of those sightings be found?
So again, there's a lot of them. Most of it is known in Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. It's like a 500 acre ranch that's out there. And one of the most well-known stories actually is from this family. I believe it was in 1990s. I want to say like 98 or something. And it was the Sherman family that had bought the ranch, and it was the father and his son that had actually gone out to check on their like livestock, their cattle for the night and lock everything up. And they'd noticed like a weird wolf-looking creature, and father went back in and he grabbed a gun and shot at it because it was trying to grab one of the calves that they had there. And they ended up like hitting it in a chunk of fur and like blood that they had found later that night that they couldn't identify through DNA testing. Actually, it came back unknown.
Oh, wow.
But that creature had run away through their woods and they lost tracks of it and everything. And they claimed that the blood had been sucked from all of their cattle.
Oh,
and there was no blood nearby.
Dang, that's creepy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Do you know if there was like some sort of fang marks or something? They just kind of like drank the blood right out of these
Yeah,
things?
pretty
That's
much.
so
It drained it of its blood and then disappeared,
Wow.
and it was never sighted again.
Wow, and it's like some sort of a wolf-like creature, you said?
Yeah, they claim it's like a pretty large wolf-like creature. That's what most of the skinwalker sightings tend to be, is from what I've heard. They tend to be quite large, though.
Yeah. Do you know what kind of like size these things are? Do you have any reference?
Think of like the movie Twilight, where they have like the wolves in that. Okay. That's like the sizes that I've heard comparison to.
So like a werewolf.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, that would be terrifying, seeing something like that, like just killing your livestock, especially like on a farm. You know, that's definitely something you don't want to run into.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what more can you tell us about these things?
I can tell that there is so after that Sherman family had bought that ranch and they had experienced some weird like other paranormal things going on the farm, they had decided to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So in like 2012, I want to say, and I don't remember his name, but there was a cryptozoologist who actually purchased the ranch and placed cameras all over the place just to study all of the weird and paranormal going on, and there's been some pretty crazy sightings on there. Wow.
Any photos of this do you know of?
I think he's got some like trail cams set up that have caught some weird things, and you can't quite make out what the animal is, but yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, so I actually I've heard of something. I don't know exactly where it was, but I do remember hearing something along the lines of like so this is kind of another cryptid, but the El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
I remember hearing a story about that where they actually believed that they found one like hit by a car after a similar thing, like attacking livestock, and then they found the body actually, and they took a sample of it and sent it off, and the DNA was like, didn't come back unknown. Like you said,
it was a weird combo of it was wolf, like coyote, something crazy.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It was a goofy combination, something that you wouldn't normally see. So I could totally see why it was like, this thing's not normal.
I think a lot of these things are evolving too, because just like a year or so ago, there was a farmer who found this weird wolf-looking thing on his farm and also had shot it and like fully caught the thing, and they did DNA testing and it came back to just be a gray wolf, which was odd because nobody expected that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, animals just going off breeding each other.
Evolving.
Making weird things. Yeah, no wonder there's so many weird monster-looking things out there.
Yeah.
So, you want to kind of give us some more examples of other types? Is there any other cryptids that you might want to get into?
I mean, you did say like El Chupacabra, like that one's a pretty well-known one as well. That one tends to roam like the Americas in general, so through Mexico and through, the USA a lot. That one, I don't know too much about it actually, but it tends to go towards, I think, more of like animals and stuff, and not. I feel like most cryptids tend to stay away from humans.
Yeah. Is there any that you know of that have attacked humans, or any like crazy close encounters like that? Do you know any aggressive ones? Not
attacked, and I don't even want to say aggressive, but like I mentioned in the beginning, the Mothman is one of my favorite stories that I've listened to through cryptids.
Let's get into that.
So that one's got some pretty wild stories that people have had sightings through. There was actually one in O'Hare Airport, and it was a woman. She had worked through like the mail department there, and she was leaving work that afternoon, walking through the parking lot, and she saw this massive figure in the distance when she was trying to get into her car. She said it was close to 11 feet tall, and she panicked and froze standing there, and all of a sudden these massive wings just like whipped out of this thing and just took off into the air.
Wow.
And she said it had like these massive red glowing eyes, and she was panicked, and that was her story. And there's been a lot more lately around, but Mothman's original stories were in Virginia, is where its first sightings were.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that'd be very creepy. Do you know when that O'Hare sighting was?
I want to say it was 2018.
Okay, wow.
It was pretty recently.
Not that long ago. Do you know of like any recent ones, like any sightings that...
That's the most recent one that I've heard of. I haven't looked too much in it in the past few years, actually, but yeah, the Mothman tends to be like a bad omen almost.
Okay.
Where anytime there's something bad that's supposed to happen, he tends to pop up, is what I've heard from a lot of people.
Yeah. So I do remember you sharing a story with me one time about some miners. Is that right?
Yeah, that one's wild. I don't know if I believe that one as much, but there was definitely, I want to say, like 8 people that had backed that story. So there was a lot of witnesses for that.
Yeah.
It was something along the lines of there was a bunch of mine workers and they were at the opening of this like cave, and they spotted this Mothman like right at the opening of the cave, and he wouldn't let them enter, and they obviously like all panicked and tried to like run out of there.
Yeah.
And the entire mine ended up collapsing really shortly after that. So they believed that he was like showing them that something bad was going to happen and kind of tried to get them out of there.
Yeah. So you're saying that Mothman might be a good guy.
Yeah, I think I kind of said that backwards actually. So he's like showing that something's bad is going to happen, but trying to protect humans in a way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And another one too was something with the
bridge.
Yeah.
So that was over the Ohio River, and that was where most sightings were ever seen of him, and he was on top of the like wiring that goes over the bridge to hold it up. And the entire bridge collapsed. And I don't even remember what had caused the bridge to collapse. I think it was one of those wires snapping.
Okay.
But a lot of people said that right before all of that happened and they ran off of that bridge, that they saw him up there.
Wow. Yeah, so like you were saying too, the bad omen thing. So he just kind of like pops up when he senses something bad happening.
Yeah, and almost tries to get us out of there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of like a bad superhero.
Yeah.
So I just pulled it up. Failure. The reason the bridge collapsed: failure of a single link in the chain from a stress crack that would have been difficult for inspectors to have spotted. That's very interesting that maybe there are signs like that ahead of time that this Mothman might be able to see, but maybe can't quite communicate, or like people might be afraid of him. So like he just knows of things and just kind of like wants to warn, or is like trying to be a symbol of something's going to happen. Like maybe he knows that stuff's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And then the miner story too. What exactly happened? That the cave collapsed?
The cave collapsed, so all of that happened. All of the miners were out. Nobody got injured during that event. But
And where was he at in that story?
Standing at the entrance to the cave. He almost like shooed everybody out of there.
Okay.
And they were obviously panicked. So when they saw this massive creature in the cave, they ran out of there. And he just stood at the entrance, not allowing anybody to re-enter.
Yeah, well, if something like that was standing in front of a cave, I wouldn't enter either.
Dude, no, me either. Shitting myself.
Yeah, definitely me too. So I know you do have some, I know you got some more stories, some more cryptid things going on in your head. So you wanna dive a little deeper? What do you got for me?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to kind of take it a weird route for us for a little bit. And I just want to give the listeners like quick heads up on it. Some of the details in this incident are a little bit graphic. So just a forewarning.
Yeah, I think we're a mature audience. It's all good.
So I don't know if anybody has ever heard of Dilatov Pass. And it's in the true crime, community, it's a pretty well-known incident, but it's one of the ones that's most fascinating to me. So in February of 1959, specifically the 1st and 2nd, there was 9 Soviet hikers that had gone out into this mountain. The Ural Mountains is what I have written down, but I might be pronouncing that correctly. So if somebody wants to correct me, feel free. So all of these hikers had died during this trek, and they had a lot of weird things that had happened during this time. They were examining the bodies afterwards, and 6 of them they determined had died from hypothermia.
Okay.
2 of them had been determined to have died from a chest trauma, pressure to the chest, and then 1 of them had been determined to have died from a cracked or a fractured skull. And So they ended up determining all of this to have happened from an avalanche, which, sounds like it would be fitting.
Yeah, it could be.
But then when they looked kind of more into some of the details, they had 100 expeditions go up on that same path after this incident, and not a single person reported any, movement from the ground or anything showing that there was,
that there was
an avalanche. Yeah. And so when they brought the bodies in for autopsies, there was 2 of the bodies had their eyes gouged out, like fully out of their body. And then one of them had their tongue ripped out of their mouth.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That is a mean avalanche.
Yeah, So you're probably thinking, like, how could an avalanche do that? Because that's what we're all thinking right now. The other weird detail about that one with the tongue is they got farther into that autopsy and noticed that the lungs were filled with blood, meaning that had happened before death because they inhaled all of their blood. Yeah. So that is not something that would happen from an avalanche.
That would be brutal.
Yeah, so pretty terrifying on that. The investigation had got closed saying that it was that avalanche, and that was in, again, 1959, and they reopened it actually in 2019.
Okay.
And they reclosed it before 2020 and still claiming it was an avalanche.
Huh.
Personally, being the conspiracy theorist that I am, I think it's a cover-up.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of dive into some of those crazy theories. So just, again, going off of like some of those details that were at the site, they had said that there was no signs of that avalanche, and there was over 100 expeditions that were held since that time. They were saying that the tent had been, like, somebody had taken one of their knives or a pocket knife or something and ripped the tent from the inside out as if they were fighting to get out of their tent. They didn't unzip it.
Yeah.
Ripped out. But then following footsteps...
So the tent entrance was closed.
The tent entrance, the zipper was closed.
Okay.
But there was knife marks consistent with them ripping it from the inside out.
Okay.
And then looking at footprints, all of them were barefoot, and it was like 20 degrees, like negatives. It was terrible conditions out there. And all the footprints were barefoot or just in socks. So they were like, why did these people run out of their tents so aggressively?
Yeah.
But then looking at footprints outside of the tent a little farther away, because a lot of bodies were found like 300 meters away, like 300 to 500 meters.
Okay.
And a lot of those footprints ended up being consistent with just them walking and not running. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah. And then looking more into like those theories and details. So their tent had been set up on the edge of like a weapons testing area. So a lot of people think that they kind of fell into a testing thing. And a lot of the bodies, the clothing on the bodies had found radiation on them. So they were thinking that they kind of got dragged into something that they weren't supposed to be a part of.
Huh.
That's one of the big crazy theories.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
One other interesting thing is that the tops of all the trees around the bodies were singed, like just the tops. And a lot of conspiracy theorists think that it was UFOs.
Okay. Yeah. Like so the treetops were actually torched like fire.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
So they also said that the one body that they had found was found with their mouth like wide open as if they were yelling like at death. So it's just like kind of those weird little details that I'm like, something's not right in this investigation.
Yeah. Wow. So that body was like frozen with their mouth like in a screaming position.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they're pretty graphic, but you can find those photos online.
Okay.
And there's some pretty crazy movies that actually go really in detail on this because I'm kind of just scraping the surface on some of these details, but there's a lot.
Wow.
One other crazy thing is when they went to investigate the scene after, these hikers didn't come back for days, there was no animal tracks in the area. And people originally were like, oh, okay, well, we could explain like the eyes or the tongues and whatever being gone by, animals could have eaten them after they died.
Yep.
But there was no animal tracks to be around, and there was still the human's footprints in there. So it's not like the snow fell and covered everything up.
Right. Yeah, there should have been some other footprints if it was an animal. And even that, just eating only the eyes and the tongue is a stretch in the first place.
For sure. Definitely. So again, that kind of brings us back around to the cryptids, where everybody's getting into these crazy theories of, the Yeti or Bigfoot and aliens, of course.
Yeah.
There's so many crazy things and nobody really knows.
Maybe Bigfoot's just like really tall and actually has small feet, and those footprints were his.
They could have been.
So I actually do want to kind of go back to the radiation one. I wasn't quite following you on that. So what was the theory behind that?
Yeah, so it wasn't a theory. When they did testing on their clothing, they found radiation.
Oh, wow.
It's like
radioactive fumes or
something on their clothing that they had found. And one of the biggest things that people talked about with that was because their campsite was right on the edge of it was specifically a Soviet parachute mine exercise, like testing, weapons testing that they were doing there.
Wow. So what is the thought behind that? Is it because they like went mad or something, like in the radiation got to their heads and they all went crazy or something?
There's a lot of theories that go about that. Some people think that they, like the military and stuff, kind of grabbed these people since they were in the area and did some testing on them. And a lot of people kind of bring that radiation to it and think that they went crazy. And, that I think could be possible because the Soviet was the one in 1959 that had lost all the documents from this investigation and everything. And they closed it, saying it was an avalanche. And then it was actually the U.S. that reopened this investigation, even though it wasn't.
So, so they were trying to cover it up, and the U.S. is like, wait a minute here.
Something's off.
And then maybe the U.S. found something out, and they're like, this is why they kept it from the public.
Yeah, because then they closed it real fast without even releasing any new information.
Yeah. Wow. That is freaking weird. Yeah, they're like, if we close this fast enough, maybe we can be like, yeah, it's for sure an avalanche.
Yeah, and it's definitely been kind of like pushed in the back shelves, and people don't really know too much about this investigation because I don't think it got enough, publicity.
Yeah. So what were the different deaths again? You had how many people that just froze? You had 6 people?
Six from hypothermia. 2 of them were from like chest traumas, and
so, like,
then
pressure on the chest.
Yeah,
like, that's interesting too.
Like pretty much crushed their
chest, like their ribs,
which would be like, would coincide with a avalanche. That would
that would make sense too. But it's weird that like it's just their chest, not like broken bones, like broken legs.
No,
or
it was
arms.
just like collapsed lungs.
Like you'd think if like it was an avalanche, like your like free limbs, like your arms and legs would be broken.
Much more damage would be.
Yeah, and these were, do you know if they were buried under snow?
Nope.
They were all on the surface of the snow.
Yep, I know 4 of them were found laying on like a riverbank there, and they were like partially frozen in the river. Those ones were found fairly close to their campsite. I want to say like 20, 30 meters away.
Okay.
And then the other ones were found, like I said earlier, like 300 to 500 meters away.
Wow.
And they were, the one was like half buried in the snow, like legs down. And that's the one that was missing eyes, tongue, and had their mouth like wide open, like they were screaming.
Okay, so the one with the eyes and it had eyes gone and tongue gone?
Yes.
And it was screaming. That was that one?
Yes.
Was there any other like that? With another one with eyes gone?
There was one other with their eyes gone, but that one was the only that had their tongue missing.
Okay. So, yeah, that was, one with the tongue missing.
Yes.
That is so weird. And that one was the farthest away.
Yes.
That's messed up because, like, I would imagine, like, the ones that were the farthest away would have been the ones that got away from whatever it was.
Right.
So you'd think, like, the messed up ones would be closer to the scene, and then the ones that are farther away might have just, hypothermia and just died out there.
Yeah.
So maybe the 6 that did just die from hypothermia, were they closest to the scene?
They were fairly close to the scene. I know the 4 of them were found in like a similar area, and then 2 of them were found sort of nearby each other, and there was actually like a fire that had been made. And it looked like they were trying to like warm themselves, because there was actually a few of them who, of course, the ones that had died from hypothermia, that had been found with limited clothing on. Like it almost looked they had stripped, which is actually common with hypothermia, because there's like this thing where, you tend to feel like you're overheating almost, and you start to take your clothes off, and then it just like makes the
makes it worse.
Yeah, makes it more extreme.
Yeah, or like your skin starts burning and getting itchy, and it's just uncomfortable with the clothes, so it hurts you, and you just want to take it off, so it's not like, rubbing against your hurting skin.
Yeah, definitely. But then another weird catch is that some of the other people, so there was the ones that were missing their clothes, and then others were wearing their clothes.
Wearing the
missing clothes of the other people.
So they were like layered up with other clothes.
Yes.
Huh.
There's so many crazy things with this.
Yeah, that's so weird. Like either they took the clothes off of the other ones, or like maybe after they already died.
Yeah.
And they stole the clothes.
Something.
Or that probably makes the most sense. Or they just stole the clothes and ran and left them to freeze. That's so weird. Yeah, you definitely imagine that those would be the furthest away because they got away, but that's weird that they're the closest and the most mutilated one was the furthest.
Right.
And the only thing I can think of is like maybe one of them was super unlucky and made a break for it and ran, and whatever was there decided it wanted to hunt and just went for a ride, just chased after this poor guy, and that guy ended up getting far away, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then whatever it was never ended up coming back to the rest of them.
And then we go back to no animal tracks being found, though.
Yeah.
Which is the craziest, because that I feel like would be make the most sense.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's no tracks.
Yeah, that's true.
Is, I don't know, that makes me think aliens for sure.
Yeah. And so then you got so there was another one with missing eyes though, right?
Yeah, there was two
with missing eyes. Were they near each other? Do you know?
I actually don't know that one for sure.
Okay.
I want to say yes, but...
Okay, and so the one with the missing tongue with the frozen open mouth, that one was the farthest away by a riverbank, right? You said?
No, the four that had hypothermia were close by the riverbank.
Oh.
And the one that died from hypothermia was farther away.
Okay. So the one with the tongue missing was farther away.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then, that's so wild. Definitely got to be aliens.
Yeah.
With the charred trees, though, that's
like a weird little detail about it. And it's like, why just the tops? It's like nothing ever landed.
Something
there was no melted snow or anything.
Yeah.
So it's like it hovered above and sucked them up.
Yeah, seriously. Sucked them up, did their testing on it, and then just spit them back out.
Yeah.
That's so wild. I don't know. Maybe they were doing some sort of a testing on like death, or like they wanted, maybe, who knows, maybe they tried to save them.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't. And then they're just like, oh, well, these guys are dead anyways. Let's just kind of like, study them a little bit. They just dissected a little and then just.
Yeah.
But that's weird too, because you said the tongue was ripped out before death and he inhaled his own blood.
Yes.
Filled his lungs with blood.
Yes.
That's got to be a rough
Because if it was
way to
after
go.
death, they wouldn't have been, breathing. So that blood would have filled up and poured out of their mouth.
Yeah, right.
But since their lungs were filled, that implies that they had been alive and they breathed it in.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rough way to go.
Yeah.
So, it got to be aliens if those trees were charred. And
yeah,
there was no
and
footsteps.
Yeah, seriously. And then like the radiation on their clothes, like I feel like that can correspond with that too.
That could be too. Yeah, maybe that's something off of their whatever propulsion devices.
Yeah, whatever they're using.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Definitely makes you think about some things.
Yeah, it does. Makes you kind of question. Yeah.
Question the government.
Yeah, literally. That's so interesting that they, maybe they're just worried of, public reaction. They've been trying to cover up UFOs for the longest time now. And,
yeah.
And I think it is just from public, just the way they fear the way the public will react.
Oh yeah, it would probably be chaos.
Yeah,
for sure.
Probably. Or that, or it wouldn't be a big deal at all, and everybody'd be like, "Yeah, we already knew."
We figured. Yeah, it'd be one or the other, and I feel like, of course, they're gonna fear the worst. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and you'd like to think like, got to be like a Yeti out there in the cold, right?
Well, yeah, that too, because I was like thinking about how there's a lot of Yeti theories, but then there's no footsteps.
Yep.
And a lot of times people have talked about if Yetis potentially are from like parallel universes and can travel through like portals. I know that's a far stretch. I know it sounds crazy.
No, it's good.
But people have said that because there's been like footprints that we've seen and a lot of sightings, and then all of a sudden they disappear and they've never been found. So there's some of those crazy conspiracy theorists that are like, well, what if they can go through these portals and like, disappear?
Yeah, that's so weird. Or maybe something with like extreme climates like that, like kind of open things up, and maybe these creatures don't even realize that they're kind of like time hopping or like portal hopping.
And it sounds like so wild, but like really, what do we know?
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Right. Well, and like another thing to think about is like the Northern Lights. Like, how do we explain that? Like, I know they got like ways of explaining that with like the sun and whatever.
There's scientific ways to.
Right. But like things like at extreme climates and at different positions of the earth, like who knows what kind of phenomenon that could possibly happen. Like maybe like some sort of like rips in some sort of a like dimension could open at extreme temperatures like that, and next thing you know, we got things like kind of hopping back and forth and maybe not even realizing. Maybe this thing just kind of like rips through a dimension and just like doesn't even realize that it went into a different one and just starts slaughtering because it doesn't know what these humans are.
Yeah. I mean, not even like weather, but that could have, some impact on it. But like the way the planets align and shit. Like, I think about the origins of Halloween. The Halloween is supposed to be like one day of the year where the like opening to like afterlife is closest. So it's why people dress up for Halloween, because we're supposed to disguise ourselves and hide from the demons.
Okay.
So it's things like that where it's like just the way that like the world, the planets, whatever align that day, that time, whatever, you know, something crazy could happen.
Yeah, that's so crazy. It's wild. It's kind of like you got the whole astrology thing, right? With all the different ways, like the reading of the stars kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's
Mercury in retrograde.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We're all fucked up at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's just cranky out of their minds. Leave me alone.
Oh, God, the moon today.
Yeah. Get off my back. Mercury's in retrograde.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's actually another topic I know that you have a lot of knowledge on, like the whole astrology thing. And I would love to have you back and dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I dabble in that.
Yeah. So it kind of tied this back to maybe some sort of a skinwalker.
Yeah, for real. I mean, there's so many things that could happen with that. Like,
especially with the shape-shifting, like you were saying.
Yeah, and like how a lot of them claim that they're witches. Who knows if their extent is just shape-shifting. They might be able to do silly little tricks like covering their tracks. And, you know, just to fuck with us, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to kill all of you guys, but we're going to confuse everybody else while we do it.
Yeah, just like cast a simple little wind spell to just blow their footsteps away.
Yeah, right? Like, they'll never know.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, that's wild. The skinwalker thing, that's wild. Just a shapeshifter like that.
Dude, sometimes my dog will look at me with some funky ass look and I'm like, he might be a skinwalker.
Yeah, you're just like, that's a weird look. Don't look at me like that.
I say that shit all the time. My boyfriend's like, stop saying that. It's freaking me out.
Yeah, Doug's not a big fan of dogs in the first place, right?
Yeah, I mean, he... Not as much as I am, for sure.
Yeah, but he's growing on him, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, they're best buds now.
That's awesome.
But sometimes I'll freak him out with that.
Yeah. No, some animals, though, it's like crazy. Look, like sometimes you see an animal that just like gives you like a human expression and you're like, that's
probably a skinwalker.
That's not supposed to be happening. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that too, where people are like, oh yeah, like you can see a skinwalker in human form as well. And one thing that people say that like is like something that can determine that is if you shine like a flashlight on like these humans that could potentially be skinwalkers, their eyes reflect the light like animals at nighttime.
Yeah.
Isn't that freaky as hell?
Yeah, like a raccoon or something.
If I shined a flashlight at a human and their eyes fucking lit up at me, I'd be like, hell no.
Yeah, go away. Yeah. Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, that is interesting. That's something that I don't really. I feel like I've heard that before, where why humans don't do that so much. You got the like camera photos where their eyes turn red, But yeah, that's weird that they don't like glow in the dark like most other animals. That's so interesting.
I've actually never thought about that with cameras.
Yeah. Because I think cameras, like animals, do the same thing. I feel like they have in like photos, their eyes glow or light red or whatever. But yeah, I feel like humans always glow red only in photos.
Yeah.
But something I don't really know about. But yeah, that is freaking crazy. So yeah, murders in, where was this at again?
It was like in like on the edge of Russia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And what was the expedition for? Do you know?
It was actually a bunch of students and an instructor going up there to do some research.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. I wonder if they found what they were looking for.
They could have been.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Dang.
Came to a fatal ending, but it could have been what they were looking for.
Yeah. Wow. That is nuts. So, yeah. And so they were already like tucked in bed, like in the tent, and they just like fought their way out.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. They said, like, again, based off autopsy, that it was about 6 to 8 hours after they had eaten their last meal when this all happened. So they had eaten their dinner and gone to bed.
So it was late at night.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
So they were probably already asleep and then woke up to something.
Yeah. And went into chaos trying to fight out of that tent.
Yeah. That is so weird. So that means something probably was in the tent, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, unless something's
fighting
like,
to get in the tent or had gotten in the tent.
Yeah,
because that zipper was still closed on the front.
Yeah, that's so. I'm trying to think of why somebody would try to cut their way out like that.
Yeah,
like, unless something was at the door or like at that zipper and like trying to open it, and they just needed to get out.
The backside. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that one baffles me. I will like wake up in the middle of the night thinking about this.
Yeah, literally. That's so weird. That's so scary to think about. Like, dang, can you imagine just like sleeping? You're already like shivering cold, and then something like that happened. Like, you didn't even know what happened.
Yeah, could have been something as simple as like a sound, a growl, or something that caught them off guard. And
yeah, or like even I've heard things about like being in the mountains like that with just like the frequencies of wind and pressure can mess with your mind and your ears. Things like how
the altitude.
Yeah, altitude too. Yeah, lack of oxygen, but like same thing with like how you can't hear like dog whistles because it's such a high frequency, but dogs can.
Yeah,
and maybe something like with the wind through the mountains can like the vibrations can like mess with your head and make you start seeing things or something like that's.
And altitude with the lack of oxygen, definitely you're gonna get all wonky. Yeah,
you start like seeing things and freaking tripping balls. Yeah, that's a freaky story.
Yeah, definitely. That one blows my mind.
Yeah.
On the daily.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, something you definitely wake up to in the middle of the night.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is your kind of idea or thoughts behind this whole murder mystery or cryptids thing? What do you think happened in this mountain madness story?
I honestly don't know. Like, I am so torn with this one, and I think that's why it's one of my favorite stories, because it really gets me thinking. And I feel like most true crime stories and things that I listen to, I'm always like, oh, if it's unsolved, I'm like, this guy did it, that guy did it. Like, I feel like I always have some kind of idea with it. And this one, I don't.
Yeah.
And I kind of love the way that it just like makes me really think about all different options with it.
Yeah. You love the way it just gives you maximum anxiety at night.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love the way that I don't get sleep over this. Wake up with bloodshot eyes like, fuck! Days long, just drooling over it.
In the corner, you got to put a straitjacket on.
Seriously.
Rocking back and forth.
Like, someone please give me answers. No, for real, though. I think that it's... Honestly, I probably would lean more towards some kind of alien something, and that's why it's going to be covered up by government so much.
Yeah, that could be.
Or that they kind of got somewhere they weren't supposed to be and fell into some sort of radiation testing, nuclear weapon, something crazy. And, you know, they were like, oh, fuck, we don't want this investigation to fall on our hands. We don't want these murders to fall on our hands. So they're like, we're going to blame it on an avalanche. And that didn't happen.
That is crazy. Yeah, dang. So, do you feel like you have witnessed anything like this in your personal life? And not this story specifically, but cryptids in general.
Oh, God, I wish I have. But I don't have any, you know. No, I wish. I listen to so much paranormal shit and like everything. I feel like I've had like one like brief kind of ghost encounter thing, but like not really also.
Tell me about it.
So for the listeners, one of my really good friends has passed away a few years ago, and I occasionally will go sit at the cemetery just to kind of like check in on him, and you know. So they had pinwheels set up on all of the graves there. And I remember one day I was sitting there and it was just like a nice summer day. There was literally no breeze. And the pinwheel on like right next to his grave just started spinning like rapidly. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of put my finger on it and stopped it because I was like, this is freaking me out. None of the other ones were going. And then as soon as I took my finger off, it started spinning again. I was like, all right, bro, you're freaking me out here. Like I was like, I feel like he was trying to give me a sign that he was there, but it still freaked me out for sure. So I was like, what's going on?
Thank you for letting me know I love you, but
please. A little pat on the headstone and walk away. I was like, all right, I'm gonna head out. But no cryptids. I wish, because that would be, I mean, I sound crazy probably wishing that because I'd probably shit my pants. But, you know, it would also be pretty cool to go back and be like, let me tell you about this thing I saw.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Hopefully not too close of an encounter.
No. Yeah. Just close enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was quite the interesting topic. I really loved recording this one. I think the listeners are going to really enjoy this. We definitely got really deep into some of these topics, and definitely a fun one. I think this could be one of the more fun recordings that we have done.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a blast doing this. Yeah. Just thank you guys for having me on here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. This is a blast, and I hope you had a great time recording this, and can't wait to have you listen to this and show all your friends. Yeah,
for sure. I can't wait to come back and record more.
Yeah, definitely. We will definitely have you back. I think we'll probably, we got a topic planned for the future with you. So
we got a cool one.
Yeah, we'll have you back on for sure, and maybe even get into the paranormal. We didn't really touch the paranormal stuff. Yeah, but that could be a number 3 that we could have you back on.
Yeah, I kind of thought about touching on that, but I was like, that's a little crazy to bring into this one.
No, it's all good. We want to go that direction anyway. So
just another reason for me to be back here.
Exactly. Yeah, you're definitely gonna be a fan favorite. I can tell already.
I hope so.
Yeah, this is a fun one. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope you had a great time. Is there anything you want to say to kind of call this episode complete?
I think I've covered all the topics. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble this whole time and go all over the place, but I had fun with it.
That's that ADHD brain of ours.
Oh, for sure.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, and we will see you guys bonus episode Wednesday, so tune in for that. Thanks so much. Have a great one.
See ya.